Then, one night, while everyone was asleep, Anita heard a noise coming from the kitchen. She tiptoed downstairs, her heart pounding. As she peeked around the corner, she saw Sophia standing by the window, whispering urgently into her phone. So you see, everything seemed to be going smoothly for Anita. She was working as a housemaid for Madame Margaret, a stern woman with a heart hardened by life's many struggles. One afternoon, Madame Margaret was pacing the living room, her eyes sharp and voice cutting. "Anita, have you cleaned this place?" she asked sharply. "Yes, Ma, I have," Anita replied, her voice trembling. "It's not clean enough. What's wrong with you?" Madame Margaret's anger was like thunder. "I'm sorry, Ma," Anita whispered, her head bowed. "Sorry for yourself." "Nonsense," Madame Margaret snapped. She walked away, her mind heavy with many responsibilities. You see, Madame Margaret had invested heavily in her son, Chidi's education. She was determined to see him succeed and was working tirelessly to make sure her dreams come true. Later that evening, Madame Margaret's son, Chidi, was returning home from university. The whole house was abuzz with excitement. Even Anita couldn't help but smile as she finished cleaning. Madame Margaret had high expectations and wanted everything to be perfect for her son's homecoming. As the doorbell rang, Anita rushed to open it. Chidi walked in, looking taller and more mature than when he left. "Chidi, my son!" Madame Margaret cried out, embracing him warmly. "You've grown so much. Look at you." "Thank you, Mummy. It's good to be home," Chidi replied, smiling broadly. Come, tell me everything. How was school? And where is your girlfriend, Amara?" Madame Margaret inquired eagerly. "Oh, Ma, Amara had some projects to work on, so she couldn't come over," Chidi explained. Madame Margaret's face fell a bit, but she quickly masked her disappointment. "Oh, I see. Well, you can tell me all about it later. Let's get you settled first." Just then, the doorbell rang again. Madame Margaret turned towards the door, expecting another guest. But as Anita opened it, she saw a familiar face. It was Amara. "Mum, meet my girlfriend, Amara," Chidi said, bringing her inside. "How are you, my dear?" Madame Margaret asked, her voice warm. "I'm fine, Ma. Thank you for having me," Amara replied politely. Just as they were settling down, a commotion erupted. From the corner of the room, a voice rang out. It was Chuka, another house help, standing there with a look of shock on his face. "Amara, I know her!" Chuka exclaimed. Amara's face went pale. "I absolutely do not know this man," she said firmly. Madame Margaret turned to Chuka, her eyes blazing. "You know her?" "Yes, Ma. She's the one I've been talking about, the one I invested so much in," Chuka stammered. "Chuka, leave this house immediately," Madame Margaret ordered, her voice cold and final. Chuka's face fell, and he left quietly, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Chidi and Amara watched him go, their expressions unreadable. Days passed, and the house was quieter than usual. Anita went about her chores, her mind replaying the scene with Chuka and Amara. She wondered what secrets were buried beneath their seemingly calm exteriors. Then, one night, while everyone was asleep, Anita heard a noise coming from the kitchen. She tiptoed downstairs, her heart pounding. As she peeked around the corner, she saw Sophia standing by the window, whispering urgently into her phone. Anita's curiosity got the better of her, and she inched closer, careful not to make a sound. She could hear snippets of Amara's conversation, her voice tense and hurried. "We can't keep this up much longer. No, he has no idea. Yes, I'll find a way. I have to go now," Amara whispered, quickly ending the call, and slipping her phone back into her pocket. Anita ducked behind the counter just in time, holding her breath as Amara glanced around the dark kitchen before quietly heading back to her room. Anita's mind was racing. What was Amara hiding? And who was she talking to so late at night? The next morning, the house was bustling with activity again. Madame Margaret was in high spirits, planning a small celebration for Chidi's return. Anita couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. She decided to keep a close watch on Amara, hoping to uncover the truth. Later that day, as Anita was dusting the living room, she overheard Amara and Chidi talking in hushed tones. "Chidi, you trust me, right?" Amara asked, her voice soft but serious. "Of course, Amara. Why do you even ask?" Chidi replied, looking puzzled. I want you to know that I would never do anything to hurt you," Amara said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Chidi reached out and held her hand. "I believe you, Amara. We'll face everything together." Anita's heart ached. She didn't want to believe that Amara could be deceiving Chidi, but the late-night phone call and Chuka's revelation lingered in her mind. As the days passed, Anita noticed Amara receiving more phone calls and sneaking out of the house on several occasions. She decided it was time to take action. One evening, while Madame Margaret and Chidi were out, Anita confronted Amara in the kitchen. "Amara, I know you've been hiding something," Anita began, her voice steady but firm. "I heard you on the phone the other night, and I've seen you sneaking out. What's going on?" Amara's face turned pale, and she looked away, unable to meet Anita's eyes. It's not what you think," she stammered. "Then tell me the truth," Anita insisted. "I won't tell Madame Margaret or Chidi. I just want to know what's really happening." Amara sighed, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "Okay, I'll tell you, but you have to promise not to say anything to anyone," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Anita nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She could sense that whatever Amara was about to reveal would change everything. "You see, I'm not just here for Chidi," Amara began, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "I'm here because of Chuka. He's my brother, and we have a past that I've been trying to escape." Anita gasped, her mind reeling. "Your brother? But why didn't you tell anyone?" "It's complicated," Amara said, tears streaming down her face. "Chuka got involved with some bad people, and I had to distance myself to protect him and myself. But now they've found us, and they're threatening to ruin everything if I don't do what they say." Anita's heart sank as she realized the gravity of the situation. She knew she had to help Amara, but she wasn't sure how. "We'll figure this out together," Anita said, placing a comforting hand on Amara's shoulder. "You're not alone in this." Just then, the door creaked open, and they both turned to see Chidi standing there, his face a mask of confusion and hurt. "What's going on here?" Chidi asked, his voice trembling. Amara froze, her eyes wide with fear. Anita took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. She knew they had to be careful with their words. "Chidi, it's not what it looks like," Anita began, stepping in front of Amara protectively. "Amara was just telling me about some family troubles. She didn't want to worry you." Chidi's brow furrowed. "What kind of family troubles? Amara, why didn't you tell me?" Amara wiped her tears and took a shaky step forward. "Chidi, I didn't want to burden you. It's just, my brother Chuka, he got mixed up with some dangerous people, and they've been threatening us. I didn't know what to do." Chidi's expression softened, and he took Amara's hands in his. "Why didn't you tell me sooner? We could have figured this out together." Amara looked down, ashamed. "I didn't want to drag you into this mess. You have so much going on with your studies and your mum. I thought I could handle it on my own." Chidi shook his head. "We're a team, Amara. We face things together. No more secrets, okay?" Amara nodded, a small smile breaking through her tears. "Okay, no more secrets." Just then, the doorbell rang, startling them all. Anita quickly moved to answer it, her heart pounding with anxiety. She opened the door to find a tall, intimidating man standing there. His eyes were cold, and a menacing smirk played on his lips. "Good evening," the man said, his voice smooth but dangerous. "I'm looking for Amara." Anita glanced back at Amara, who had gone pale again. Chidi stepped forward, his protective instincts kicking in. "Who are you? What do you want with Amara?" The man's smirk widened. "Ah, you must be Chidi. I'm Felix. Let's just say I'm an old friend of Amara's family. I need to have a little chat with her." Chidi squared his shoulders, trying to appear confident. "Whatever you have to say to her, you can say in front of all of us." Felix chuckled, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Anita's spine. "Very well. Amara, it's time to pay up. Your brother's debts are your responsibility now. If you don't, there will be consequences." Amara's voice shook as she replied, "I need more time. Please just give me a little more time." Felix's eyes narrowed. "Time is something you're running out of, Amara. You have 1 week. If you don't have the money by then, you know what will happen." With that, Felix turned and walked away, leaving a heavy silence in his wake. Chidi wrapped his arms around Amara, who was trembling uncontrollably. "We'll figure this out," Chidi said firmly. "We'll find a way to get the money and keep you safe." Anita watched them, her mind racing. She knew they had to act fast. Felix wasn't someone to be taken lightly, and they only had a week to come up with a plan. As night fell, the house was filled with an uneasy quiet. Anita lay awake, thinking about what they could do. She knew she had to help Amara and Chidi, but how? Suddenly, an idea sparked in her mind. She quietly slipped out of bed and crept downstairs to the living room. She knew she had to be careful, but she also knew she couldn't do this alone. She picked up the phone and dialed a number she hadn't used in years. As the phone rang, her heart pounded in her chest. "Hello," a familiar voice answered on the other end. "It's me, Anita," she whispered. "I need your help. It's urgent."